Well, Dr Ashley Frawley is a senior lecturer in sociology and social policy at Swansea University. She supports the Be Reasonable campaign. And Andy James is chair of the group Children Are Unbeatable Wales, which supports a ban on smacking. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Dr Ashley Frawley, when is it right to hit a child?
I think some of the language that's being used around this is really dishonest, hitting, that sort of thing. It's actually about problematizing touch and parental authority and discipline in general. So it really, these campaigners have a particular idea of what parenting should be about, and they're trying to use the law to enforce that opinion on people.
Can I ask if you can answer the question, though?
Yeah, I think many parents feel that a swift slap on the bum is what they need to do at a particular time, and it's a really important part of raising children that you have the confidence in your abilities, and all that this can do is undermine parental confidence and make parents second guess themselves.
But I'm still looking for an answer. In what circumstances is this acceptable?
Whenever parents decide that it is acceptable, that's up to parents.
Well, what would you say?
So what would I say? When is it
Can you give
acceptable?
us an example of when it would be reasonable to use force on a child?
As a parent, if my daughter runs out into the street, she's very, very young, and I cannot sit there and reason with her, and I need to very, very quickly communicate that this is not acceptable, I might give a quick smack. But this really isn't about when it is acceptable and when it's not acceptable. This is about particular parenting styles that these people are trying to enforce on people. And so they're trying to elide it with abuse and that sort of thing. But abuse is already not allowed under the law. This is about reasonable chastisement, very, very minor incidents, things that used to be mundane aspects of family life.
Andy James, that is the example we're often hearing cited. If a child runs into the road, a quick slap might teach them that they shouldn't do it again. Do you buy that?
Well, if it was my child running out into the road, I would stop them, but I wouldn't necessarily see the need to hit them. Look, there are people who think that being hit as a child didn't do them any harm, but there are also many people who feel that the experiences they went through regarding physical punishment in their own families did harm them. Indeed, there have been a number of Welsh Assembly members who've spoken publicly and very movingly about the negative effects physical punishment had on them as children, and how now they feel there's an obligation as politicians to reduce the risk of that happening to future generations of children in Wales, and good on them for doing that. There's overwhelming evidence that it can be harmful. 250 reports worldwide. A recent review undertaken by the University College of London of 74 longitudinal studies on the impact of physical punishment concluded there was very strong and consistent evidence of the harmful effects of physical punishment on children.
I suppose
that is absolutely not true.
Well, it is true. And
try as they might, anti-smacking campaigners have not been able to produce research that...
Isn't it incumbent on us to do something about it? These findings aren't based on conjecture or opinion. They're based on hard evidence of the harm hitting children can do.
First of all, that is absolutely not true. Try as they might, anti-smacking campaigners have not been able to produce evidence that conclusively shows that smacking is ineffective. And in fact, only 4 out of the 75 studies that you're talking about actually correctly define smacking as physically non-injurious and intended to modify behavior. In other words, reasonable chastisement.
Well,
and in those 4 studies, it was actually shown to be effective. But the thing is, it's really over the top. It's really over the top to sit here and debate the effectiveness of a parenting technique as a basis for outlawing it. There are many ways to raise children, and you can have an opinion about any one of them, but you are not entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to use the law to enforce your opinion.
Why is it not okay, Ashley Frawley? Why is it not okay to hit another adult, but it's okay to hit a child?
Because adults have bodily autonomy that is earned and learned. Children do not have that.
Children don't have bodily autonomy?
No, you have to learn boundaries as a child. Very frequently, a parent must interfere with the bodily autonomy of a child in order to teach them, for their own health and well-being. We often have to do that. There are many things that you must do with a child that you couldn't do to an adult. You can't forcibly restrain an adult, but you often have to pick up a screaming toddler in Tesco and carry them out of the grocery store.
I suppose, Andy, if we were going to look at this reasonably, we're not necessarily, Andy James, talking about parents who sit down and think, right, if my child does this, I will smack that child. In most circumstances, perhaps, what happens is a situation blows up out of either panic or a temporary loss of control. A parent might smack a child. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. Not at all. However,
and look,
if that happens, should that parent then be prosecuted for it?
Well, we fully agree that parents need reassuring that removing the defence of reasonable punishment will not lead to an enormous rise in the number of them being criminalised. Unfortunately, they're certainly not getting this reassurance from the alarming campaign that Ashley's reporting.
I think that's actually really dishonest.
You've had your go. Can I speak, please? Let's get it straight now. 52 countries around the world now offer their children equal protection and assault as those enjoyed by adults, and 54 other countries are due to join the list. There's absolutely no evidence in any of these countries that thousands of parents have been criminalised, and that's because safeguards are built into the process to ensure certain legal thresholds are met, so that prosecutions are only pursued if they're in the best interest of the child and in the public interest. Let's not lose sight.
So, for example, Andy, if I can just try and okay, so I can try and see how this works in practice. If you see another parent smack a child in a supermarket, do you then report them to the police? Do the police then go and investigate? How does it work?
Well, you could too. I mean, the main purpose of changing the law is to stop children being hit or hurt in the first place. Change behaviour and help families get support.
So it's sending out a message.
After the event. Police and social services already receive reports from people who are concerned about seeing a child being hit or hurt and know how to respond appropriately. And under the All Wales Child Protection Procedures, for example, police treat such cases as child protection matters and only act in consultation with social services.
Okay, one last point very quickly to Ashley Frawley. Can I just read this one text? Smacking does not work, says a listener. I was smacked as a child. I was an angry child. Anger was met with anger, and that makes things worse.
I think that it's really over the top to debate about whether or not a parenting technique is effective as a basis for outlawing it. That's crazy. And it's really telling that they want to make a change to legislation that they have to promise won't be enforced. It really goes to show how dangerous they know it to be.
Okay, thank you very much to both of you.